Okay, so you're here, which means you're ready to get into it and really figure things out like fast. And especially if you're, Gen Z, you're in those early career stages, it can feel like a totally different world out there.
Absolutely. And you sent me this really insightful LinkedIn article. It's by Winston Trim,
Oh, yeah.
and it was just published recently in January 2025.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Navigating Early Career Challenges: A Guide for Gen Z Professionals.
Right.
And I think it really gets to the heart of what those first few steps are like in your career, and offers some really practical advice.
It does. It's very focused. I
Like,
like that about it. So our mission
Mm.
today is to kind of like pull out the gems,
Yeah.
the most important things from this guide to give you a clear view of what's going on out there, what are some of the big challenges, and really importantly, what are some things you can actually do about it.
Yes,
All
exactly.
right. So first off, let's just get a sense of like the big picture. What is Trim saying about the job market right now? As you're stepping into it, what does it look like?
Yeah, well, one of the first things that really struck me was the context that he sets up right away. He points out that as of 2024, Gen Z graduates are facing this kind of perfect storm of factors. You've got this really significant economic instability happening at the same time that technology is advancing at an incredibly rapid pace.
Right. It's like everything is uncertain and changing all the time.
Exactly. And one specific point he makes that I think is really important is the impact of automation and AI.
Mm-hmm.
We hear about this a lot, but he really digs into how it's impacting those entry-level roles.
Mhm.
It's not just about machines on assembly lines anymore.
Right. And like the things you're thinking you might step into as a first job, those are changing too.
Exactly. He gives the example of like basic data entry or even those initial customer service interactions.
Mhm.
Those are increasingly being automated
Oh, wow.
through things like rule-based automation and natural language processing.
Mhm.
So for you, that means the traditional pathways into gaining that initial experience,
Yeah.
they might not be there anymore.
Yeah, that's a huge shift. And then, on top of that, he mentioned something that I think is kind of an unfortunate reality, and that's the negative stereotypes that exist around, Gen Z's work ethic and adaptability.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And he's very frank about how these preconceived notions can unfairly influence hiring decisions.
Yeah, it's like starting out with a disadvantage that you have to overcome.
Right. So understanding this landscape, the tough competition, the fact that technology is changing things so fast, and then the stereotypes that already exist, that's really foundational to what he's trying to convey.
Okay, so that's the playing field as it is now. It's definitely dynamic. So let's get into the specifics. What are some of the biggest challenges that Gen Z professionals are likely to face, according to this article?
Well, we've already touched on it a little, but he comes back to this idea of automation and AI replacing traditional entry-level roles. And I think what's important here is that he really stresses it's not some future prediction, it's happening right now.
Yeah.
So the takeaway is that your degree is just the starting point.
Hmm.
You need to be constantly learning and evolving your skills.
Right. It's not like you graduate and you're done.
Exactly. And then, of course, there are those negative stereotypes we talked about.
Yeah. How does he see those as a tangible challenge?
Well, he really highlights it as a significant hurdle. It's not enough to just do your job well. You have to actively address those stereotypes, prove them wrong through your work and your professionalism.
And that can definitely contribute to the third challenge he brings up, which is job market anxiety.
Yeah.
With all these reports of declining hiring rates, it must feel pretty uncertain out there.
Absolutely. That anxiety is a natural response when you feel like there aren't enough opportunities to go around.
Right. And then on top of all that, he talks about skill gaps. And specifically, he mentions a lack of experience in areas like data analysis and programming.
Yeah. And that's really interesting because it kind of ties back to the points about continuous learning. Those traditional entry-level jobs that used to give you that experience, they might be disappearing. So you have to find other ways to develop those crucial skills.
And are you feeling prepared in those areas? Like, are you comfortable with data analysis and programming?
It's definitely something to think about.
Yeah. All right, so we've talked about the landscape and we've identified some of the main challenges, but now I want to get to the part that I think everyone's really waiting for, which is, okay, what do I do about it? What are some specific tips that Winston Trim offers for overcoming these obstacles?
Yeah, this is where the guide gets really practical. And his first big piece of advice is to embrace lifelong learning.
Okay.
And he talks about it not as this like chore or obligation,
Right.
but as absolutely essential for staying relevant in a job market that's changing so fast.
Makes sense. The market is always changing, so your learning can't just stop.
Exactly. And he gives some really concrete examples. He mentions online learning platforms like Coursera and LinkedIn Learning.
Oh, yeah, those are great.
Those are fantastic resources for acquiring those high-demand skills. We were just talking about coding, data analysis, digital marketing, all that stuff.
Which are all super relevant right now.
Absolutely. And they're so accessible.
Mhm.
You can learn from anywhere.
Mm-hmm. And he also talks about the importance of certifications, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. He really emphasizes that industry-recognized certifications can be a huge asset. They give you that tangible proof of your skills that you can show to potential employers.
Yeah, it's like a way to stand out in a crowded field.
Exactly. So continuous learning, that's key takeaway number one.
Okay, so what's the next big strategy?
The next one is all about leveraging technology, but it's not just about, you know, being good at using your phone or whatever.
Mhm.
It's about intentionally using technology to further your professional goals.
Okay, so how does he suggest we do that?
Well, he specifically points to professional networking platforms like LinkedIn. Those are indispensable tools these days.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's not enough to just have a profile.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be actively engaging on those platforms,
Right.
connecting with people, participating in discussions, and really importantly, seeking out mentorship opportunities.
Okay, so it's about being proactive, not just passive.
Exactly. And this is really interesting. He also talks about familiarizing yourself with AI tools that are relevant to your industry.
Hmm.
Being comfortable with AI and understanding how to utilize it that can really set you apart from other candidates.
Right. It shows that you're not just adapting to the future, but you're actually shaving it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's a really cool point. It's not just about AI taking jobs. It's about AI as a tool that you can use to your advantage.
Exactly.
Okay, what's the third big tip?
Tip number 3 is all about building a strong personal brand. And in this digital world that we live in, your online presence is often the first impression you make.
Right, and that's something you really have control over.
Exactly. You get to tell your story.
Okay, so what are the key elements of building a good personal brand online?
He specifically mentions the importance of crafting a compelling LinkedIn profile. Really highlighting your skills and experiences, even those early ones, and being clear about your professional aspirations.
Right, so it's not just like a list of jobs, it's really telling a story.
Exactly. And he also recommends regularly sharing insights or articles related to your field.
Okay, so becoming a thought leader even when you're just starting out.
Exactly. Showing that you're engaged and knowledgeable and you care about what you do.
And he also talks about engagement, right? Like not just posting, but actually interacting with other people's content.
Absolutely. Commenting on posts, sharing your thoughts on current trends, all of that increases your visibility and helps you build those connections.
Okay, building that online presence sounds super important, so what's next?
The fourth tip he gives is to actively seek out mentorship.
Yeah, mentorship is something that everyone talks about, but I feel like it can be hard to know where to start, especially when you're just starting out.
I agree. And he offers some really good advice on that. He suggests tapping into university resources. A lot of universities have programs that connect current students with alumni working in their fields.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And then he also recommends joining professional organizations related to your career interests.
Right.
Those are great places to network with more experienced professionals who might be willing to mentor you.
Okay, so it's about really being proactive about finding those connections.
Exactly.
All right, so that's mentorship now for the final piece of advice in this section.
This one is all about developing those essential soft skills, and he makes a really important point here. Technical skills, those might get you the interview.
Right.
But soft skills, those are what often determine your long-term success in the workplace.
I couldn't agree more. You can be the most technically skilled person in the room, but if you can't communicate or work with others, it's not going to get you very far.
Exactly. And he actually breaks it down into 5 key soft skills.
Okay, let's hear them.
Number 1 is communication skills. And this goes beyond just being able to talk. It's about clear, concise, and effective communication, both in writing and verbally. And he even suggests joining groups like Toastmasters to improve your public speaking skills.
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea.
It's all about being able to articulate your ideas and build strong relationships.
Yeah, communication is everything.
It really is.
Yeah.
Okay, number 2 is emotional intelligence.
Okay.
And this is about understanding and managing your own emotions, as well as recognizing and influencing the emotions of others. And this is so important in the workplace for building positive relationships, creating a good work environment, and navigating conflicts effectively.
Right. You have to be able to read the room.
Exactly. All right. Number 3 is problem solving.
Okay.
And this is about being able to identify challenges,
Mm.
analyze their root causes, and come up with effective solutions.
Makes sense.
Employers really value people who can think critically and take initiative.
Absolutely. Okay. What's number 4?
Number 4 is teamwork. And this one's pretty self-explanatory, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But it's about being able to collaborate effectively, listen to others, compromise, and leverage the strengths of everyone on the team.
Yeah, it's rarely a solo effort in the workplace.
Right. And then finally, number 5 is adaptability.
Okay.
This is about being open to change, willing to learn new things, and receptive to feedback.
Right, because the only constant is change, right?
Exactly. And in today's fast-paced world, adaptability is essential for staying ahead of the curve.
All right, so we've got communication, emotional intelligence, problem-solving, teamwork, and adaptability. Those are the 5 key soft skills.
Yes, and he really emphasizes that these aren't just nice-to-haves. They're fundamental skills that contribute to your success and the success of your team.
Yeah, I totally agree. Okay, so you've got the continuous learning, the tech skills, the personal brand, the mentor, and you've worked on those soft skills. What about the actual job application process itself? Actually applying for jobs and going through interviews, that can be a whole beast in itself.
Oh, absolutely. It can be a very daunting process. And he acknowledges that he gives a couple of key pieces of advice here. The first one is to tailor your resume and cover letter for each specific job you apply for.
Right. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
Exactly. You need to highlight the experiences and skills that are most relevant to that particular job description.
Yeah, it shows that you've actually taken the time to understand what they're looking for.
Exactly. And then the second piece of advice is to practice your interviewing skills.
Yeah, that's huge.
You can practice with friends, family, or even use your university's career services. The goal is to build confidence and get comfortable talking about yourself and your experiences.
Right. The more you practice, the less nerve-wracking those interviews will be.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about the current job market, the challenges facing Gen Z professionals, and a whole bunch of strategies for overcoming those challenges. How does Winston Trim wrap up his guide?
He ends on a really positive and encouraging note. He talks about the importance of resilience. Navigating those early career challenges can be tough.
Mm-hmm.
But he really encourages you to see it as an opportunity for growth and innovation.
I like that perspective. It's not just about overcoming obstacles, it's about using those challenges to learn and grow.
Exactly. And he leaves the reader with this really thought-provoking question. He asks, what unique strengths do you bring to the workplace that can help reshape perceptions of Gen Z professionals?
Oh, wow. That's a powerful question.
It really is. And he actually encourages people to engage with that question in the comments section of the article. So it's a great opportunity to reflect on what you bring to the table and how you can make a difference.
Yeah, that's definitely something to think about.
And, his overall message is really one of empowerment. He's saying that if you commit to lifelong learning, you use technology strategically, you build your personal brand, you seek out mentors, you develop those soft skills, and you approach job applications thoughtfully, you can absolutely succeed.
So it's not all doom and gloom.
Not at all. It's about recognizing the challenges, but also seeing the opportunities and taking control of your own career path.
I love that message. So there you have it, folks. Our deep dive into Winston Trim's Navigating Early Career Challenges. Some really valuable insights and hopefully some practical takeaways that you can start using right away.
Absolutely.
And don't forget that question he posed, what unique strengths do you bring? That's something worth reflecting on as you embark on your career journey. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive. See you then.